Hello and welcome to the CosmoParenting Podcast, brought to you by the CMM Institute for Personal and Social Evolution. My name is Abbie, and I help people use better communication to make better social worlds. In this space, we invite you to see yourself as someone who is curious about and actively participating in creating your own meaning around parenting. This is the very first of 52 episodes that will be released once a week for the next year. Over the course of this year, we will explore 12 universal themes, one per month, with each month consisting of 4 bite-sized episodes. The hope is that this is something short and sweet, but still rich and meaningful that is easy to squeeze into your already busy life. In week 1 of each month, we will appreciate introducing the month's theme and offering questions for reflection. In week 2, we validate by sharing stories firsthand from others who are parenting. In week 3, we animate by learning some parenting best practices that we can use to put what we have learned into action. And in week 4, we communicate with some prompts to engage your family and support systems in meaningful conversation. So let's jump into our first episode. This month, we are beginning by exploring the theme of stories. We want to start by thinking of some true statements about stories to help us contextualize these next 4 episodes, just so we can all be on the same page. 2 truths that we want to acknowledge about stories are that stories are how we make meaning, and also that there are many kinds of stories that shape us, both told and untold. I invite you to take some time after this episode to consider what you know to be true about stories and their role in your life. First, though, let's talk more about stories in parenting. So when you think of stories in parenting, you might be thinking of fairy tales and bedtime stories. And while these fictional stories do shape us, I'm talking about the stories we live and tell ourselves about our world. For example, you may have a story about what it means to be a quote unquote good parent. It's important to think about where these stories come from. How did you learn what it means to be a good parent? Maybe you developed this story based on how you were parented or how you saw others parent growing up. This is a great example of what I mean when I say that stories are how we make meaning. What I think it means to be an effective parent might be very different than what it means to you. And the stories we both hold might be very different, but they can all be true or real for each of us at the same time, even if they feel contradictory. The second claim we made about stories is that there are many different stories that shape us, both told and untold. And this is just to say that the stories we don't hear or the things we don't say also shape us. For example, if growing up, your family never talked about things like money, alcohol, or sex, then that lack still taught you something. Perhaps that these are taboo things, not to be talked about, or even that they're shameful. As we wrap up this first episode, I want to offer some questions for you to reflect on for yourself. I'm going to ask the questions here, but you can also find them written in the show notes of this episode or on our Substack. The first question is this: what stories about family were you told or not told growing up? Second question: what is the story you are telling about yourself as you parent now? And third question: what kind of story about family do you hope to pass on to your children? Okay, those are the questions I will leave you with today. I invite you to spend some time in reflection after this episode ends and throughout your week thinking about your answers to them. I'll also point you toward the additional resources we have available for free at www.cosmoactivities.com and encourage you to do at least some of your reflecting on the CosmoParenting Substack so you can be in dialogue with our community. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the CosmoParenting Podcast. We're so grateful to be with you on this journey, and we will see you next week to hear a parenting story.